right, before we start discussing the Ryan Tannehill situation, I want to run you guys through some reports on Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick, and Ryan Tannehill's knee. This first report is on Ryan Tannehill's knee. This report comes from Connor Bryant of Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins' quote fear is that quarterback Ryan Tannehill will have to go under season-ending surgery on his left knee, according to Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington. They haven't made a decision yet. So that's the most important part right there. Even in a best-case scenario, it seems the Dolphins could go without Tannehill until sometime in October, which would leave them with Matt Moore as their only experienced quarterback. All right, so that is the latest on Tannehill. Again, we're still in wait-and-see mode on what to do with Tannehill. What is on Jay Cutler and his connection to the Miami Dolphins. In fact, Jay Cutler elected to walk away from football in May and pursue a career in broadcasting. 3 months later, the 34-year-old is having second thoughts. If quarterback Ryan Tannehill's left knee proves to be major, Cutler would be willing to sign with the team as a full-time starter, reports Jeff Darlington. He also said, I think this was a report sometime after this, that he would only come back for starting quarterback money, which is ridiculous. Comes from Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. Colin Kaepernick's name was raised within the Dolphins front office as a potential insurance policy. So that's all we know about Colin Kaepernick and his connection to the Miami Dolphins. Again, nothing is set in concrete, so we don't know we don't know Ryan Tannehill's timetable, if he's going to come back. We don't know what the Dolphins' decision is going to be, and we don't know the results of Ryan Tannehill's second opinion yet. So we're all in wait-and-see mode. So hopefully we get good news out of this, the best news we possibly can get out of this whole situation. So obviously, in terms of somebody who we can get outside of the Dolphins building, I think the two best options are Jay Cutler and Colin Kaepernick. And then obviously Matt Moore we have in-house. So let's talk about Jay Cutler. Obviously what makes Jay Cutler... what makes Jay Cutler so attractive in terms of a signing is, one, Adam Gase coached him, and he had his best season under Adam Gase, which led him getting the Dolphins, obviously getting the head coaching job, is because of the job that he did with Jay Cutler was pretty phenomenal. Obviously, Jay Cutler has had a lot of trouble with turnovers. He's really struggled to read defenses, and that's what's led to this, a ridiculous amount of interceptions. Obviously Adam Gase did a phenomenal job of cutting those turnovers down, and which led to his best season as a pro. And he obviously knows the playbook. He knows Adam Gase's offense. He knows what Adam Gase likes. So that won't be a problem at all. So some of the positives of Jay Cutler, obviously we've heard it a million times with Jay Cutler. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got a great arm. He can fit into tight windows. When things break down within the pocket, he has the athleticism to make plays. He can throw on the run. So again, he is a playmaker. When things break down, he has the ability to make plays. He's got good football instincts. I think in terms of pocket awareness, he's pretty good. He's definitely above average when it comes to those kind of things. And his launching points, the man can throw it, 80 yards from anywhere on the football field. So he has those things going for him. When you just look at athleticism and football ability, Jay Cutler, pretty dang above average, especially his talent, some of the best in the league. When you look at some of the negatives, obviously we alluded to that earlier, when Adam Gase was able to help him cut down some of those turnovers, because he has led the NFL on turnovers many times throughout his career. He hurts football teams. He's not... I think that's some of the negatives is we can't have somebody who turns the ball over like that at that high of a clip. You're just not going to win football games if you have somebody like that behind center. So that's going to be a problem. I think obviously the good thing about that is that when he was with Adam Gase, he was able to cut some of those things down. And like I said, talk about his again, his physical abilities. He has all the physical tools in the world. But again, some of the negatives, doesn't really survey defense as well. That's been a problem with Jay Cutler. It's one of the reasons he throws so many picks is because he does not read coverage as well. And anything intellectually when it comes to football, he just does not do well. Obviously some of the his personality his locker room presence is questionable. Obviously Jay Cutler, many teammates have come out and said have had problems with the man. And something that I don't like to hear is that he wants to come back. He'll only come back if he gets paid, quarterback money, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I just don't. In my personal opinion, whether you like Jay Cutler's personality or not, he can't get the job done. Obviously, he's 34. His injury history has been a problem. He has not been a durable quarterback throughout his career, so that's another negative to Jay Cutler. So at least if he did come in, Matt Moore would back him up. But again, just to run through some of the positives quickly, he knows the playbook. He has the physical ability to be an above-average quarterback. I do think he has the physical tools to, if we did make a run to the, he has the physical ability. I'm not going to say he has the. We'll talk about that here in a second. Anyway, and so again, I got myself sidetracked. Positives: he knows the playbook. He has above average. He has the physical tools to do it. He is a playmaker. He can make plays within the pocket. And negatives: I think the turnovers, huge problem, and reading defense, huge problem, and the locker room fit, I think, is going to be an interesting. How he fits into the locker room, I think, would be interesting. So let's move on to Colin Kaepernick, who has many different problems, especially when it comes to playing for the Miami Dolphins. So let's get the non-football issues out of the way first. First of all, obviously the whole his political views and some of the things that he's done in terms of the Castro situation and that whole situation. I don't think the fans, especially in Miami, would be. I'm talking about around Miami. I don't think they would be accepting. If you don't live in Miami, I think it won't affect you as much, obviously. But obviously we have a huge Cuban fan base there, and obviously they don't like Colin Kaepernick at all. Obviously, and his fit into the locker room, I think, is going to be a problem. When you see Kiko Alonso, and what he did, his emotions when he stopped Colin Kaepernick from getting to the end zone. So I think the locker room thing that's going to be a problem. So getting those things out of the way. When you talk about Colin Kaepernick's ability as a quarterback, I think he's got a cannon of an arm. He's got really, really nice deep ball accuracy. Some of the positives: he's a playmaker. When things break down around him, he can make something out of nothing. I think he's better at that than most people. He's good throwing on the run. His release is pretty quick. His accuracy and his passing within the pocket has been a problem with Colin Kaepernick. He has never been good at that. He's actually I would say he's a below average quarterback when it comes to passing within the pocket. But I think Adam Gase can find ways to help him with that if he was a Dolphin. So from a complete, I think I like Colin. What I really like about Colin Kaepernick is I don't think he hurts your football team. He really does not turn the football over at all. He only threw 4 interceptions last year to 16 touchdowns, which was on a bad San Francisco 49ers football team. In terms of skill positions, the best one they had was Vance McDonald, who was by far the best pass catcher on the football team. That offense, from a talent standpoint, was really bad, and it was pretty impressive. I talked about Colin Kaepernick before. It was really impressive what he was able to do in terms of not turning the ball over that much. And throwing for a good clip of touchdowns. He threw for 16 touchdowns. I think some of the things he presents in terms of problems that he presents in the red zone is something that I really like. When you're in the red zone, you have to worry about so many things. When Colin Kaepernick's your quarterback, whether he can make plays with his legs, roll out, and score it himself, because he has special speed when it comes to quarterbacks running, his running ability, and he definitely has the arm talent, and he's shown it before where he can fit it into tight windows in the red zone. So those are all things that I really like about Colin Kaepernick. He can make plays with his feet, with his arm. He's a game manager, and I don't mean that in the Alex Smith way. I mean that in the way that he does not hurt his football team. He does not throw interceptions. He makes smart decisions with the football. But some of the negatives, again, I just don't think he's the greatest passer within the pocket. When you look at some of his stats, they're not so good. In terms of yards, he's never been close to 4,000 yards in a season. His best terms of touchdowns, his best year was where he threw 21 touchdowns in a single season. So to get some exact stats here, his best year in terms of yardage-wise was in 2014. His best touchdown year, his career high in touchdowns, was 21 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. So again, Colin Kaepernick never in terms of a career high in interceptions was in 2014 or 2015. I think 2015 was his career high when he threw 10 interceptions. Excuse me, no, it was 2014. So again, the thing to like about Colin Kaepernick, I think in terms of him versus Jay Cutler, I would pick Colin Kaepernick over Jay Cutler. And I'm not saying I'm taking all of the crapping off the field trash off. Like I'm looking at a football player. I would pick Colin Kaepernick. I know Jay Cutler knows the playbook and all the other stuff. That's going to be a problem when Colin Kaepernick comes into the offense. Trust me, is learning this playbook. But knowing Adam Gase and how smart he is, I don't think that's going to be a big problem for him to figure out what's from some simple off. Will it render the problem is will that put a bit of a lock on the offense in terms of opening up the playbook? Yeah, I think that's going to hurt the football team a little bit. I think Jay Cutler definitely has the upper hand in terms of we can really open up the offense with Jay Cutler. And with Colin Kaepernick, we really can't because he doesn't know the playbook. So that's a problem. But in terms of just a football player and his talent level versus talent level, I think Colin Kaepernick is just a better overall player. When you hear teammates talk about him, again, not talking about off the field issues, he's a competitor, he's a vocal leader, he's a good everything you look for in a quarterback, Colin Kaepernick has it. But the locker room thing, I think that's a big problem because, again, I think there are players in the locker room that wouldn't get along with him and definitely wouldn't follow him as a leader. That's a problem. I'm not going to say for sure that they wouldn't, but there are definitely certain players in that locker room that I don't know how they would take Colin Kaepernick being the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. But in terms of talent level and us being able to, if we chose to go outside the building, the organization and pick somebody up, I think Colin Kaepernick would be the best option for those reasons. I think he's I think in terms of red zone production, I think he would be better than Jay Cutler. I think he takes care of the football way better than Jay Cutler does. I think he's a smarter quarterback. I think he's a more coachable Well, I'm not gonna say that. I don't think he's a more coachable quarterback, but I think he just gets it. I think his football as a football player, his feel for the game is just at a different place than where Jay Cutler is. And I like I've said before about Colin Kaepernick. Again, I'm not talking about the off the field issues, just looking at him as a talent. I think he can lead a football team to the playoffs. I think he does have the talent level to do that. I think. Looking at his resume, he's played in so many big games. He's played in the playoffs many times in his career. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's made that run before. He knows what it takes to win. He's played against high-level competition, like that Seattle Seahawks team. He's beaten high-level competition before, and again, he's played in big games. And he plays well in crunch time as well. He's a pretty smooth, and that's not something you can say with Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler does not play well in big games. He does not play well in crunch time. Looking at his career, but Colin Kaepernick does. I think Colin Kaepernick overall is just a better player than Jay Cutler. And again, Colin Kaepernick has durability issues as well. That's something that he struggled with getting on the football field last year. He was way underweight coming off of that injury, and it took him a while to come back. So he has durability issues as well. But in terms of just a football player, Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion, is just a better football player than Jay Cutler. I've said that about 4 times. I apologize, but it's true for all those different reasons. And I like what he brings from not a leadership standpoint, but just a knowledge of the game. I know Jay Cutler's played longer than him, but Colin Kaepernick has, again, played in a lot of big games. And the situations that he has been put into, in terms of, fourth quarters, to go to the Super Bowl, or to have all that pressure as a young quarterback, and to look how he stepped up to the plate and was very calm under pressure, and got the job done. And when you look at what Jay Cutler does in those situations, it's just a totally different quarterback. So I think that was another reason to really like Colin Kaepernick. But we forget who's in-house, and that's Matt Moore. And in terms of, I think, out of everybody, I think Matt Moore is the better decision. I really do believe that. I think he's the best decision out of the 3. He knows the playbook. He has the chemistry with Devontae Parker. He has the chemistry with Kenny Still. So I think in terms of him being able to Adam Gase, there's no lock on the playbook. The offense is open. Matt Moore is a very talented he's an above average quarterback when it comes to making throws within the pocket. He's a great pocket passer. He can make those throws in tight windows. We've seen him be able to win before on a consistent basis. Before Tannehill was drafted in the 2011 season, we went on that, I think it was, 6-game winning streak. Obviously, Matt Moore, basically the only reason we went on that was not the only reason, but Matt Moore was a big part of it. He can play quarterback at a consistent level. The things I don't like about Matt Moore, again, I don't think I said enough positives about him before we get into the negatives, but he's a great passer within the pocket. I think he definitely surveys the field well. He's played within the AFC East for many years now. He knows what it takes to win on the road against Buffalo. He knows what it takes to win. Some of the things that concern me about Matt Moore, and again, the obvious positives that I didn't say before, knows the playbook, all that other jazz, and he has the chemistry with the team. But when you talk about just football in general, he's another player that he has that gunslinger mentality, which I love in a quarterback. So the turnovers in terms of interceptions don't worry me. It's the fumbles that he's had. Fumbles have been a huge problem with Matt Moore throughout his career. Obviously, we saw that against New England. We saw that against the Steelers. Fumbling, he doesn't. I don't know what it is about Matt Moore and fumbling, but it's a problem. So turnovers are an issue with Matt Moore. He puts the ball on the ground way too much. Another thing that I don't really want to compare Matt Moore to the other guys, but when you talk about football ability, when things break down within the pocket, there's not much Matt Moore can do. He's not much of a playmaker when it comes to when things get bad. He does have athleticism to break the pocket. We've seen that before. But when you talk about somebody who I think is a good leader, I think Matt Moore is a really good leader. I think the players love him. I think he definitely knows the playbook inside and out. He can stretch the field with his arm. He's a gunslinger. I love what Matt Moore brings to the table in terms of passing within the pocket. I love that. But when it comes to being a playmaker, I don't think he has the ability to do that. I don't think he has the ability. Some of the negatives again. I question He's obviously his ball security and his ability to survey the field at times. I think he just sometimes again that's what a gunslinger is. That's just that's just his style of play. But I think Matt Moore is the best choice. I didn't like the way he played against New England. And the 4 games that he has played in New England, or not the 4 games he's played in New England, but the games that he has played in New England, he's not looked his best at all. So I think that's a concern. But I think he's definitely the best decision when it comes to knowledge of the playbook. And I'm just repeating myself at this point, but his ability to rally the troops and his chemistry with the football team. I mean, you saw some of those throws that he made with Kenny Stills. Some of those were back shoulder. That's pure chemistry. And in training camp, he's looked really good. Both of those guys, they have really good chemistry. And same thing with Devontae Parker. They have great chemistry with Matt Moore. So the offense as a unit will not be slowed down. Let's say if Colin Kaepernick came in, let's just say hypothetical. Let's say if Colin Kaepernick came in to be the quarterback with Miami Dolphins, the offense I think would get off to I think a slower start than they would with Matt Moore, because the familiarity with Matt Moore is just obviously they've never played with Colin Kaepernick before. So the chemistry wouldn't be there, the knowledge of the playbook wouldn't be there, and I think the offense would have a ceiling on it. Whereas if Matt Moore was the quarterback, there would be no cap on the offense. So I think Matt Moore definitely would be the best decision at this point. It's a tough situation, guys. If I definitely think the Dolphins need to bring somebody in, and if they were to bring somebody in, it definitely would be Colin Kaepernick, especially just to see, bring him in, see what he can do in preseason, see how well he can adapt to the playbook, and definitely be an insurance policy if something happened to Matt Moore, he could step in, because behind Matt Moore, it's not good. Brandon Doughty and David Fells. They are not ready to be NFL quarterbacks. They will not win us football games, and they will definitely lower the talent of the football team in terms of production. So we definitely need to bring somebody in regardless. And if we were going to bring somebody in, I definitely think it should be Colin Kaepernick. I know, and again, I'm not. When you look at the off the field issues, that's a problem. And I haven't heard anybody talk about if in the locker room how that would affect the Dolphins locker room, because, you know, I don't know how it would affect it either, whether it would be good or bad. But let me know what you guys think. I know this has been a long discussion. Again, I think Colin Kaepernick, if we were to go get somebody outside of the organization, it would definitely be him. I think his ability and his the ability to play the game of football is better than Jay Cutler's. I think he's been, when you've seen some of the games that this man has played in some of the drives that he's put together in big games and against great talent, it's been pretty impressive. When you look at the Super Bowl against the Ravens, he drove that offense all the way down the field, and basically, if it wasn't for questionable pass interference call, almost had a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl. In the NFC Championship game, if it wasn't for a clutch tip by Richard Sherman, that was a Hall of Famer play right there. If it wasn't from a Hall of Famer play, we could be talking about a totally different scenario with the 49ers in that game as well. And when you look at what he was able to do last year with the limited talent that he had in terms of skill positions and the numbers that he put up, I think that's a positive as well. So let me know what you guys think. Who do you think out of Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick, and Matt Moore? Who do you want for the Dolphins this upcoming season? I have faith. I don't know. Maybe it's a blind faith. But I have faith that Ryan Tannehill's coming back in some capacity this year. It's just so hard for me to give up on the dream, guys. I think it's so hard. It's such a tough pill to swallow. But I think the most likely situation is that we will rally around Matt Moore, and we will play good football. And I do truly do believe that. So I am Skyx3, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let's get through the rigmarole first before we start the podcast. Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Wednesday. The first segment of the show, we go through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. The second segment of the show, we go through all the AFC East news you need to know about. And the third and final segment of the show, we go through the Miami Dolphins fan Q&A.